Hey everybody, welcome back. It's business, and it's been a long time, and I hope you're all being safe with coronavirus and protests and just general living at this state. I guess I don't know. There's some crazy shit going on outside, and hope you're all doing well. But I know it's been a while since doing the videos. I really have lost a lot of my interest in doing this, mainly because it just takes so goddamn long to get anything going, and especially when it comes to anything regarding the editing and like the actual production is just time consuming. So despite having all the time in the world, I had no interest in doing videos during the 2-month quarantine, so that was pretty rad. And yeah, so on that note, I kind of feel like this and the next video will be the last of the Ships and Giggles sort of stuff, because I really just don't have the time to do this, and it sounds weird, but I just prioritize streaming so much more over doing anything with YouTube. But I don't want to leave you guys high and dry, so what I may end up doing is just doing a best matches of the week type of thing. And I've already got a few games recorded for that I'd like to do. Certainly won't be more than 2 matches for a video, but it would provide some level of regular uploads for you guys in case you miss it on Twitch, and it'll be minimal commentary, if any at all. Maybe throw some memes in there every now and then, and basically just try to give you something from me other than silence, I guess. And yeah, it's just a pain in the ass, honestly. So I'd much rather focus on streaming, and without having the regular uploads with YouTube, the algorithm fucks me so bad. I will not get anywhere near the amount of views until like I'm consistently uploading for a while, like frequently. And there's some obviously there's an annoyance factor to that, but it is what it is. So I'm not really sure what to discuss in this video. I'm kind of just all over the place with all these different topics I'd like to go over, but ultimately I may just ramble on as usual. I know you guys have pretty much come to expect that from me and anything I do, but so what you're going to be seeing here today with this relatively lengthy video is nothing but the Hindenburg. So this is actually from what, patch 9.2? I can't remember. This is right after they introduced Lucians and buffed the Hindenburg's reload, which was just a phenomenal idea to do those both at the same time. And I will say that well, what I'm running here is a bit of a meme, and I'll explain it after I show you the captain skills, after I get team torqued here by that dumb fuck. But I'm running Lucians, and I've got the legendary mod in slot 5 and general survivability, IFHE, 0 concealment. So I don't see the point of using concealment on the Hindenburg. And I will say this is not, I'm not really even sure if this is a build that I even use right now. I haven't played the Hindenburg for like a patch and a half, and I think I might have gotten rid of IFHE to use Concealment Expert. So this isn't my current build, this is just what I was using at the time. And holy shit, was this easy. Like, this oh my god. Dudes, I mean, this is what the video is all about, just showing how easy the game was to play with this shit, because I had 66 millimeters of HE pen, and you could just roll over the decks of the Kremlin, the Izumo, the Yamato, and get really, really solid damage. And I don't know, like, if it was really all that effective, like, for the most part, because there are not too many situations where you're just constantly shooting at specifically a Yamato, an Izumo, or a Kremlin. But when you do get that chance, you're not only busting them up with the fire chance, but the actual pen damage as well is really solid. And getting getting 5 to 9,000 damage every salvo, pretty much guaranteed, unless you're hitting the turrets, was really fucking awesome, and it really changed the way that those ships would play against you. So I'm going to screw up here. I don't know why I did this right there. I know better. You never, at close range, you never aim behind the torpedo lead indicator. You aim just in front of it, because again, the torpedo lead indicator is focusing on the center mass of the ship. So if you're up close, if you lead right on it, you actually have a pretty good chance of missing, because the various angles and all that, and of course the carrier's trying to fuck me up. But here's the funny part about this. So aside from running IFHE, like, these secondaries, they're pounding away, right? They did 16,000 damage that I couldn't do with my torps or my guns, and that's the only reason why I got out of that, which is just crazy as shit. But that was a fun sequence, and then the Shokaku decided to, show up and ruin my match by killing me with AP bombs, and there's zero counterplay. I couldn't do anything, of course. I just had to sit there and take it, because carriers, whatever. So here's a really, really good situation to explain a few things about the mechanics of brawling and whatnot. The Moskva has a gigantic turning radius, but it also has guns that you gotta respect, especially because he's obviously using AP, so I have to keep that in mind when I'm going broadside to him here. What I'm trying to do is not maneuver, and sorry, that's a hard drive issue for recording. What I'm trying to do is not turn, basically, to lift up the Citadel, which would counteract the Turtleback. We nuked the shit out of him there, which is beautiful, but I had the speed. He wasn't going to be able to do anything in terms of getting out of that situation without giving up his broadside, but I didn't need to do anything other than go straight. And, having the turrets pre-aimed where they needed to be, obviously that's the other big factor there, is preparing for the situation ahead of time. But when you, if I turned in towards him, it would lift the starboard side, which is facing his guns, up out of the water, and it would neutralize the effect of the Turtleback. So by keeping it flat, I'm maximizing my armor, or actually if I turned away, technically I could improve armor to a degree, but it would also mean that the Turtleback is now flatter facing him. So underneath the deck armor and the side armor, there's the Turtleback is at an angle, which is why it's helpful at close ranges. But the second you turn that to where it flattens out, now that is going against you. So you have to be really careful with Turtleback ships as far as turning in or out, because you can get the shit nuked out of you. And I've done that to a lot of the German ships, just time and time again, and it's one of my favorite things to do, because it's just, the general knowledge of understanding how it works and how to try to protect yourself, or obviously inflict damage. So this match was pretty interesting, and I don't really, again, see the need for concealment on this ship at, as far as how this was all set up, because the Hindenburg pretty much took over the role of the Henry as the long-range HE spammer. But it also has the benefit of being able to move up and, have a huge threat presence, with the torps on both sides, the amount of shells that it could throw at the target, so on and so forth. The Hindenburg is just dangerous at any distance, and especially up close. It's just a tough nut to crack, where the armor is really, really solid, but it does give up a lot of pen damage. And Jesus Christ, if you if you come under any type of focus fire from HE, and I mean especially now with ships like the Smolensk, or high caliber HE such as actually the Goliath, absolutely wrecks the hell out of this thing when it comes to the damage that it gives up with HE. You can lose a lot of health very quickly, but one of the things with this particular setup that I was really enjoying was just being able to let the fires burn, because they only lasted for like 15 seconds and flooding was only 11 seconds or something crazy like that. So I could absolutely take damage, and be in these brawling situations where if my turrets, say my front turrets were disabled, or like one of my turret racks was disabled and I really needed it, I could, let the fire burn, the flood, flood out or whatever, and save the repair for a situation where I needed the offensive capability. But it just basically gave me more options in being able to basically just gave me more options. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than that. But yeah, we're pushing up here, making stuff happen, and yeah, seems like we got some action here being able to go in our favor. We've got the Buffalo, who has been very generous with giving me broadside, so that worked out pretty well. We've already got a few kills. Things are looking pretty good here. The enemy team is clumped up at C, and we've got our team trying to basically kite away and survive a bit down there and drag the match out, hopefully. Manage to follow up with another kill. We're up to 4 kills and just under 100,000 damage, so now it's time to see what we could do about farming these battleships as we move towards the middle. And one of the things that always worries me is running into a battleship like the Georgia, or really any battleship, but like the really large caliber. Just, man, it hurts this ship bad. But at the same time, it's pretty damn easy to keep the fire on them and keep racking up these fires, the actual fires, and developing a ton of damage over a relatively short period of time. Because once you get that Iron Strike achievement for getting 100 main battery hits, that's a 7.5% improvement on your, and I got really lucky there from the Kremlin shot. I think that the ship, combined with basically going back to its old reload, I really think it's pretty much just a bit too much. I think I don't know what the hell I was doing with the camera there, but I think they do some curious things with their timing, such as buffs to certain ships, and then you get a legendary captain to throw on top of it, because that's exactly what people are going to do. Get Confederate and high caliber there, which is rad. We're over 200,000 damage, and just keep working on him. Another case in point here, just reliable damage against the Kremlin, which not many ships can say they actually get that. But so we have 6 kills trying to knock out the Smolensk here, and of course everybody, when the Smolensk shows up, everybody wants to fucking shoot at the thing. So especially when he's at the only ship left in the match on the enemy team. So of course goes broadside to the higher caliber shells, and this is something that always happens, man. I don't get it, but every single time, like, I've got a situation where somebody knows I'm there, they're taking their shots against me and staying bow forward to me, but to the battleships and stuff, like just to their south or north or wherever their broadside is, they don't mind giving up that broadside to those guys. So got 7 kills there, just another ship to add to that growing list of ships that have 7 kills or more. I think I'm going to go through the list of ships that I've played and see what my max kills are, and I think I've got I don't know how many ships I have with 7 kills, but it's a lot, or maybe it's more than I actually think, but I can pretty much with confidence say that I know exactly which ships I have 8 kills in, and there's only one that I've got 9 kills in, which funny enough is the Omaha. So that was a long time ago, but I've got that video up on YouTube, so it's somewhere way back there. I couldn't tell you when it was, but it was a long time ago. Good times. That was on Fault Line, and there were even some tier 3s in there and stuff, so whatever, easy pickings. But I don't really take much stock in either damage nor kills. It's just, I've had an 8 kill match with the New Mexico, and I think I had 98,000 damage or something like that. I just had a 90,000 damage Mayhem game that ended up with 7 kills, so on and so forth. It's people have had Krakens under 30,000 damage. I've been really, really close to that. I think my lowest Kraken was 34,000, and I had 4 kills with the Kawachi in one game where it was, I think I had 10,900 damage with 4 kills. It's so stupid. And then what's the other one? Oh, I actually do have, I think, an 8 kill game in the Kawachi as well. Don't ask. That was a crazy game, but it was, that was frustrating. So, brings a smile to my face, but regardless. So one of the things that I actually managed getting early on was one of the rare things that you probably don't get if you're in anything that's not a DD or like a German DD or a carrier, which is the spotting health bonus. Now I forget the actual parameters, but basically you get a given amount of health. I want to say it's 300 health times the tier that you're in. So tier 10, 300, 3,000 health is what you get back. So that's going to become kind of important here. So I can't seem to finish off this. I think that's a Charles Martel. Jesus Christ, it's so hard to see. Yeah, it's got to be a Charles Martel, right? Yeah. So Chucky over there, you know, the French ships, they're great kiting ships, and they're a giant pain in the ass to play against. But luckily with a ship like this, with having one, I've got, you know, Iron Strike rolling, of course, and 12 shells to throw with already a decent reload. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I can actually do here. And this is why I run double rudder shift, of course, because gotta have that reaction time. I love brawling with this thing, and having the just a split second more reaction time ends up making a huge difference, all the difference in whether or not you survive or take a torp. Sometimes it's not going to matter, and you know, it is what it is, but regardless, double rudder just feels wonderful. And I say double rudder, it's, you know, the legendary mod and rudder shift mod, but whatever. So Charles Martel is still shooting at me, and we've we've got this Jutland that I just can't seem to get the connection on. So take a look at my health right there. Holy shit, that's low. So I think that was, what, 862 or something like that? So obviously without that spotting bonus earlier, I would have been screwed. So again, it's one of those things where I really think that the legendary mods and the legendary captains are honestly a bit too much. I would say that the legendary mods themselves are far worse for the game than the legendary captains, and of course I say that with Kuznetsov being, like, fully admitting that dude is brokenly overpowered, and, you know, Sansonetti and Lucians are up there with being probably too strong as well. Even, you know, Halsey, which at least you have to do some work for Halsey, such as, you know, getting Confederate, whereas one of the most ridiculous things that any of the captains can do is what Kuznetsov does, the will to victory, or whatever it is, where, you know, it always triggers at 10% health, and, you know, getting that every single match is pretty brutal for people that are facing off against it, especially because, you know, Russian ships are pretty damn popular. And when you have a bunch of those guys on an enemy team, it can be pretty shitty, man. So I've had a match where I think I've personally seen on 3 Russian ships that were firing, were on the enemy team, I saw it trigger 3 times. So 3 different ships, of course, and yeah, that was brutal because we couldn't finish off 2 of them. We ended up losing because of it. So, I mean, it was kind of a shit match anyways, but who cares? One of these situations here where I am so glad we got this carrier spotted, because, I mean, really, there's really not that much that feels as good as killing a carrier. Like, nuking a Smolensk is one thing, but a carrier, I still feel like that is the creme de la creme, you know? That is just, damn, that feels good. And generally, something like the Hindenburg is actually a really good ship to attack carriers with, because, you know, again, the shell volume is a very critical aspect of being able to inflict the damage you need to against the carrier, which carriers are insanely strong with their armor. You know, as far as they turn just a little bit and the armor mechanics just go to shit, like they do with pretty much every ship. But you know, you're almost always fighting them at range, so it's really difficult to get the shots that you actually need, like on their hull or well, yeah, obviously on their hull. So if you can manage to get those shots and make it count, then, you know, that's awesome, and it just feels like justice. So that ended up being a really solid game. I was very curious about how that was going to work, given how when at the start of the game, when I was south of ACAP, I honestly wasn't really getting the results that I thought I was going to get with having all those battleships there. I didn't get the fires that I was expecting at all, and, you know, thus the damage. But I really thought I could have done a hell of a lot more there in the event that, you know, the fires had produced a bit more. So this last match, after we saw the battle results for, I think, pretty much all those games that I just played, but I mean, you can see kind of a theme here. All of these are really, really high damage. This match is kind of indicative of, well, not indicative, but it represents what I talk about all the time when it comes to the way that, you know, a lot of high damage games are actually boring as shit, because there's not really a lot to do in a lot of these games where you just farm. You know, it tends to not really be all that exciting, and, you know, that's not necessarily a fault of you know, the game or whatever, or anybody. It's just the way that it plays out sometimes. A lot of times, you know, you get really lucky with getting a ton of fires, not only when you need them, but when the enemy doesn't need them, which is a critical point. The DCP cooldown and all that stuff, if you can get multiple fires on somebody, you know, after they come off of DCP immunity, holy shit, you can rack up damage really fast. And especially when there's multiple battleships and you're dumping these shells on, you know, multiple targets and have multiple fires going, it's astonishing the amount of damage that can rack up. So you can see we're already at 172,000 damage, 175, Jesus Christ, and there's only 3 enemy ships down. So we have about a 90-point lead. You know, things are being contested. There's actually a lot of action going on in terms of, you know, every fight right now is really critical to both teams, in terms of being able to get back into the game or just trying to put it away a bit. So taking damage now is one of those things where if we lose, like say I got death struck here, we're fucked, because that's a huge threat that these battleships don't have to face off against. The DDs don't have to worry about, you know, the hydro, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. You know, just in this situation, staying alive is really, really critical. So we got a Minotaur over here who not the greatest of choices, smoking up right there, but nonetheless he did it. So here we are. We managed to get a couple more ships knocked out, and unfortunately just not able to land the salvo that I'm really looking for. If the shells all actually connected on him the first time around, that would have been probably a death strike, but whatever. We managed to unfortunately lose that Smolensk there, and then, you know, the Minotaur goes down. So I've got high caliber, 218,000 damage, and I'm forced into a spot where I really have to try to kite here. So we got a destroyer up there who is dumping torps, and those look really good. He's obviously doing a great job setting this guy up and allowing me to you know, obviously keep him spotted, but which he's going to do anyways, because, you know, the guy's going to be shooting at me, because I'm not going to stop shooting at him pretty much under any circumstance. But there are other ships that are still on the board here for the enemy team, one of them being the Montana, who is going to be moving up. And so again, just trying to keep my ass alive, and this is one of the great setups too for this particular build that I was using. There we go with Witherer, where I really worry about facing off against the British battleships because their HE is fucking absurd, but dealing with the fires is a lot easier when they only burn for, like, you know, 13 or 15 seconds. That felt great, being able to play against him with a bit more confidence, because so long as he's using HE, yes, it's going to hurt, but the fires are always what you worry about when facing off against the Royal Navy battleships. So Montana, I was puckering up my butthole on that one. I really thought he was gonna nuke the shit out of me, so that was a very close call. And at this point, I'm just like, dude, please let me get past 300. I've never done that with the Hindi, and this is only the second cruiser I've ever crossed 300,000 damage with, the other one being the Minotaur 3 times, 310, 318, and I think 315, something like that. So we're obviously going right past that because the fires and the damage that we're yielding here with the HE shell. So 323, and it just keeps going, boom, 320, 327. So holy shit balls. That is the second highest damage game that I've ever had, and only behind the 338 for the Kremlin. So yeah, bunch of other things I wanted to talk about, but oh well, we didn't get there. So maybe another time. But thank you for watching today. I will see you back here soon, and Giggles 50 is coming up next. Take care, everybody.